disrupted.
America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. Been a fantastic day so far. So I want to take a look at this for a second. This is from a group called the National Citizens Coalition here in Canada. And they do these newsletters. It's a non-profit organization. I don't know much about exactly what they do, but I just gazed on their website to give a little brief description here. They said it's founded in 1967 with the express goal to stand up for Canadian taxpayers and to champion small c conservative values. I'm not sure what they mean by small c. I don't know what that entails. But it says the National Citizens Coalition is made up of a dedicated group of individuals working together to ensure the continued success of Canada's largest nonpartisan organization. So, like I said, I'm not familiar exactly. I've heard of this group. I know that they're very present on social media. They do contributions and whatnot, and I'm going to show you one of the videos that they put together on Justin Trudeau. But that's as much as I can get on that. I don't know specifically how good or bad it is, so I can't really, put my foot down and say that what this organization is about. But they put this little montage together of just 5 simple measures that Justin Trudeau did in his reign of terror to sabotage the national security and interest of Canada. And just with 5 simple policies that kind of snowballed itself into going downhill for the National Endowment for Economics and for national security and for just the everyday life of Canada has been snowballed in effect of this. So they put this little video together. Take a look at this.
If Trudeau was deliberately trying to sabotage Canada, what would he do differently? In the 3 years before Bill C-69 came into effect, a total of 112 major natural resource projects worth $196 billion were either suspended, canceled, or put on hold. In the time Canada took to approve and build 1 LNG export facility, the United States approved and built 7 export facilities and has 5 more under construction, with an additional 15 approved.
And Richard, it looks like the Canadian economy is starting to shrink.
The latest GDP numbers in today, Melissa, it kind of shows the Canadian economy pretty much grinding to a halt.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has now added more federal debt than all the other Canadian prime ministers combined.
I don't know, when I think about the biggest, most important economic policy this government, if re-elected, would move forward, you'll forgive me if I don't think about monetary policy, but I think about families.
Pain at the pumps as drivers in eastern Canada wake up to a massive gas price increase.
Food prices rose at our fastest pace in almost 40 years.
With home prices across Canada surging.
The growth in rent prices in the second quarter was the fastest pace on record.
They're going after Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle instead of gangsters in Toronto.
Court records indicate Watt was out on bail.
And we have learned that the suspect was out on bail.
So first there was C11 that let the government regulate the internet. Then there was C18 that commandeered the big tech companies and the search engines. And now there's C36. This law lets them put you under house arrest, have a curfew, have any firearms you have seized, put an ankle bracelet on you to monitor you.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China. Because their basic dictatorship.
So that was interesting, I will say the least. Like, it's definitely on point on the many policies that enacted the downfall of Canada when it came to, downgrading our GDP because of the fact that one of our biggest natural resources is not allowed to be exported because he sabotaged the ability to produce refineries and provide pipelines that would access the ability to sell off our natural resource and buy that GDP. that caused a lot of downgrade to that for the economy of Canada. Of course, they mentioned about the freedom of speech when it came to the trucker convoy, restricting bank accounts, how he's disarming people with firearms, how that's being, played into the fact that it's, disarming a population, but allowing the tyrannicalness of the government to oversee the population of Canada. That is just absolutely horrific. And considering the fact that, restriction of free speech is still continuing on, now we're just arming people and we're losing the GDP. It is just, we're turning ourselves into a third world nation. Not to mention, the pouring in of the horrible immigration policies that's just pouring people in. And that's not to critique on immigrants coming to this country. I value people coming into this country. We're all descendants of immigrants. We all came from different notions on the planet to come together to help establish this country. But the fact that they're pouring in by the masses and we just don't have the necessary the notions to help these people, and we're just allowing more people to come in and flood and just cause more of a havoc, is a risk to our security. It's a national security risk, and we're not protecting our borders. We're not doing anything to, provide a way for legal immigration, and we're just pouring these people in from God knows where. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that this is a measure of a globalist agenda. This is how they want, same with the United States, same with European nations. They just want people to pour in as much as possible, to, downgrade the value of your income, so you don't restrict people from better living wages. Also, the fact that we're having people pour in to, again, list into the army so we can send overseas to massacre more people. That was discussed by the United States Congress on why they're pouring people in. And there's also the factor that I believe, and this is kind of based on the behalf of what the WEF has, supported, is that if we collectively get everybody into one kind of formation, if we just have people just come into one specific area, it's easier to control. And it kind of relates to, if you ever read stories about the dark ages of history, if you ever read about that time period where the peasants were kind of, stabilized in the villages and be told to stay within the means of the village. They weren't allowed to go outside. They weren't allowed to leave areas outside the village, formation, while the clergy, the lords, the kings were able to roam free. They had, big castles, and the villagers kind of were stuck in this little box here. And the reason they did that was it's easier to control a mass population if you have them stuck in one particular area. And that can be said of going into why they're suggesting 15-minute cities. It's easier to control a population if they're in one specific area than trying to influence all these different territories, all these different nations, cultivating into one agenda. So it's amazing that National Citizens Coalition put that together. It was very well done. Obviously it's only a 2-minute video. I wish they could have explained a bit more and gone into detail, but it's a little 2-minute ad campaign. I think it's for their campaign, Fire Trudeau, the Fire Trudeau Fund, which is a campaign they're doing for contributions to get him to basically resign. That's one of the big notions that they're trying to push there. But it is just I give credit to that. I give credit to that because it's really exposing a lot, and just those simple measures cause this, again, a snowballing effect to all the other problems that are affected throughout Canadian life because of those big factors. How Canada is selling itself short the more it gets sucked into Justin Trudeau's reign of terror that's infiltrating this country to destroy the means of Canada. But, of course, you have to look where Justin Trudeau came from. You have to look at where his cabinetry came from. You have to understand that when Klaus Schwab said on stage that we infiltrate governments like Justin Trudeau from the World Leaders Forum and put him in as a puppeteer to the government, that was done purposely so that the WEF is a puppeteer master and is able to pull the strings of Canada and dictate what Canadians are going to be doing, just like they're doing with the UK, just like they try to do with America and Australia and other nations around the world. So it's not a healthy democracy when you have this many oligarchs, deep insider, putrid oligarchs at the driving wheel of steering your nation off course. And concerning the fact that majority of Canadians, as we're coming into the election, almost coming into the election, be next year, have regrets against Justin Trudeau and are dismissive of Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party, along with the coalition of the NDP, because the NDP has sided with Justin Trudeau. It's not looking good for him. It's not looking good for him. And it's looking more favorable for Pierre Poilievre, obviously. But I warned people about Pierre Poilievre just on the factor that, again, Prime Minister, President is just the mascot to an even darker team, to an even worse deep state oligarchical empire brewing within. And even if we had Pierre Poilievre as Prime Minister right now and we didn't have to deal with Justin Trudeau, I feel like in some ways we'd be still dealing with a lot of the same issues because of who is deeply inside and controlling our government. Who is at the top realms? Who are they? Who is the government really listening and responding to? That is the big thing to worry about. And that is why things like the trucker movement and the controversy that swirled around that was such an effective movement, because it got all sorts of Canadians together to retaliate against the authoritarian measures of not just the Canadian government, but also the big pharmaceutical industry that was peddling the Canadian government to capitulate with big pharmaceuticals to do outrageous measures against Canadians. So it really is going to take a revolution. No doubt about it. At this point in time, in this day in history, no doubt it is going to take a revolution to really change anything. It's not going to take a ballot box anymore. It's not going to take changing teams to really get anything going, because whether you vote red or blue, either way, both parties are going to screw you. So it's going to take people of all walks of life gathering together, finding common ground, finding common goals, and fighting peacefully and respectfully to do grassroots movements to fight against the oligarchical regime that's used to suppress them. That's what really is going to take. And the Freedom Convoy really showed that. And maybe we definitely need to have more of that. We definitely need to have more Freedom Convoys as this goes on.